Recording in progress. Good evening, everybody. It is January 17th, Tuesday. It's 5:42 p.m. Today, we're going to be going over our assignment from yesterday because we're going to build on that today with our assignment, and it's just the Django beer ratings assignment. I'm going to kind of run through these releases and show, high level how these things were accomplished. If anyone was kind of chewing on different solutions or how they want to go about this, and kind of show you what a fairly decent working product looks like at the end. And if there's any questions in between about either implementation or design or other options, or somebody wants to play with it, fiddle with it, we can do that. But let's get into it. So it's a nested CRUD application for doing beer ratings. With a few kind of newer things. I think maybe one of the newer bits we're doing, or at least parts we don't talk about too much, is displaying and allowing different routes to show up depending on who's logged in, as well as getting into seeding data. I did not really get into Faker, but it's really simple, and I'm just going to show you kind of how it works rather than it's really not a big deal. It's a library that you can invoke fake information with. But we'll talk about seed data a little bit later. I think it's actually, I use Faker a lot. I haven't used it a lot in Django. It operates the same way, but Faker can be really nice for development and seeing what stuff's supposed to look like when you're all done with it. So let's get into this. So release 0 is just users logging in, logging out in a Django application. Nothing crazy out here. So let's look at this project. As we've all seen before, we got a main project, file, directory, beer ratings. We're also going to call ratings is going to be the application within it. So within the main directory, you've got the beer ratings directory of beer ratings, and then ratings, which is the application. For signing in, signing out, we've got in our settings, we're going to be leaning on the django.contrib.auth and using these URLs here to fill out our login, log out, or sign in, sign out, whatever you want to call it, kind of directions there. Using these, we'll have templates set up. If we want to use templates at the top level, we're going to need to set them in a templates file, or I keep saying file when I mean directory, a templates directory outside of the application at the same level as this project directory. So here, to do that, you need to tell settings.py about it. I removed a lot of notes in settings.py just to kind of close this up a little bit. So that's why mine looks a little different than usual. Right here within the templates key, we just say, hey, that directory templates is where you're going to go look for your templates if I say to do that. And so we've got it here. Nothing, you can pretty much copy this from assignments previous. We've got a base.html, a home, basically says, hey, you're signed in, hey, you're not logged in. We got a login one, and we've got a sign up one. It's basically just different forms that are going to be provided. That is exactly like we do it every time. Beyond that, nothing really else to talk about. You don't have to really build out views for that. Oh wait, hold on, maybe you do. Let me back up. No, I think that just all gets all tossed in there. Okay. Let's go to the next bit. Generating models migrations. So we've got you can do a lot of different ways, but the way that we're going to do it today is we're going to set up a beer model and a ratings model. Seems simple, seems straightforward. Using a foreign key like this, that's going to be a one to many, meaning many reviews can be attached to a single beer. Put that up there. And should work all right. Beer's got a name, it's got a description. Got a nice little string here, and the reviews are going to have an author, which is important because we want to be able to, in the future, say, hey, an author should be able to edit or delete their own reviews, but you don't really want an author able to, edit and delete other people's. So important to associate a review with an author. So we're going to have a foreign key to the author, and we're also going to have a foreign key to the beer because it needs to be related to the beer. Text, great. We could have put a rating. We're just going to put text. Easy enough. One thing that I don't know if y'all covered this in class, but I noticed it in the commit I pulled this from, the UUID field. Basically, instead of using IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can assign a kind of random jumble of letters and numbers. What is the actual UUID? Universally unique identifiers. Plug in a bunch of things. Basically, you can build bigger, more complex IDs for reasons. It's good. It's fine. You can do that. I like it. Don't have to do it. We could just be using primary keys for these, or rather, standard data rating primary key. Just start at 1 and keep going. So, and the other thing was the Postgres database. So in settings.py, often we've been using SQLite 3, but not today. We're going to be using Django DB backends, PostgreSQL, beer rate. I changed this, but beer rate is the Postgres database. So you need to make sure you create that database so it's got somewhere to go. If you don't have a database, it's going to say, hey, that's not a database when you try to start it up, which is to be expected. Else. It's in the stretch, but I'm going to go ahead and show off test data right now because it makes sense to. There's a few different ways to do this. You could write Python directly into the models.py. So when models.py is ran, it'll seed your database. You could do some kind of file just sitting by itself and just run Python on it to associate to the database, do things like that. But the Django way is to create a directory called fixtures. And within fixtures, set up some data. You can use JSON, YAML. I think you can use plenty of other things. I went ahead and did YAML. So I also put the command you will need to run this. So it'll be python manage.py load data, and then within ratings, because you have to send it a path, fixtures, just run the YAML file. You need to hand it a model and a primary key, and then you give it its fields. Very simple from there. Our beer only had 2 fields that we could do, and yeah, beer was standard primary key, didn't have to need anything else. So these are just kind of standalone ones. When running that, they just load right up and they're in the database. Let me. And sorry if I offend anyone with my descriptions of these beers, but it's how I truly feel. Cool. They are indeed in here. Great. Real quick, while we're at it, we'll just kind of talk about the templates we've got, the URLs, and the views. And those not really part of the releases, it's just things you need for a Django app. May as well blow through them real fast. So our URLs in the main project, we've got our admin bit, which is really important, really useful for our admin panel. We've got accounts. This is utilized with sign in, sign out, authentication. We've also got these too, but we've got ratings as well, and ratings is going to be the pre-append to the URLs for ratings application right here. Within ratings, we've got our URLs, one for home, one for list, and then we've got our details that make sense, new, edit, delete, nothing out of the ordinary there. As well, got a search path, but that's a stretch goal thing that does seem to work decently well. But when passing in this review ID, we are saying it is a UUID. I think that is absolutely fine to do. I would, is that the proper, I wonder if you can just say integer instead. I don't know. I need to look that up. I don't, I forget if this is just a variable or if it has, no, I think that is necessary. My apologies. Yeah, we'll do is use UID for that. Looking at the views. There are some helper functions in here, which I kind of like, and I kind of don't like them here. On one hand, it seems to make a lot of sense to have these helper functions right where you're going to use them and the only place you're going to use them. Generally, I'd like to see these peeled out of views.py, have a different file, a different directory, and reference them from there. Because when I go to views, I really just want to see the views. So anything that's not returning a URL, so these two right here, I would like to see put somewhere else. Even though it's really, really simple, still just kind of, your views should generally just be your controller.
So what would you name that directory and where would you put it?
I would call it, so assuming, with something this size, you probably only have one file. So maybe you could just have a single file called helpers.py. But what I would do conventionally is create a folder called helpers, or use it, whatever name. Conventionally, where I work, I've been told to call it helpers. And from there, you would have, depending on what you want to do, different files broken down with these kind of called out into them. So then you would import helpers.beer helpers or helpers.review helpers, things that pull in from either the directory helpers and then files that are specific, or from just a single file called helpers. Break it down from there. And again, this is really totally fine because it's just two functions. I'm just talking about conventionally what I would like to see. Small things like
Makes
this,
sense.
they don't super matter, but you kind of don't want to put them here because like Django is all configuration. People come here, they're like, all right, I'm going to the views, and right off the bat, they're like, what the heck is this? This isn't what, and then they come down here like, okay, well, these belong in here. But again, it's a small thing, just they don't necessarily belong in here, but this is totally fine. So we've got, for our URL home, just takes us to the home HTML list, does what we expect. We've got a detail. I like the names of all of these. New, there really should be new beer. Yeah, hold on a second. That's the new beer ID. Interesting. Can we create beers
That's new
from the
review.
UI? That's new review. How do we create beers from this UI? I forget. I was creating them in the app, or I guess you don't because I'm seeding them. Okay, yeah, no problem. That's just the reviews. Edit, delete. It's all good. This is getting into our next stretch goal, which I want to talk about because we're at views right now. I think we've talked about everything that I want to look at. Well, we are doing the nested bit here. So getting into this part here. So your routes right here. Sorry, users should only be able to see, or should be able to see all reviews, but they should only be able to update and delete. And there's a few different ways you can kind of do that. Generally, the UI should not allow you to think you can do things you shouldn't do. So it's important for the UI to not display information that you can't, see. But that's not the only way that's not the safest way to do that. So just because there's no logical way for the UI to take you to edit something you can't normally edit, if you could, edit the URL in some way to get to information you're not directed to, that could be a problem. Now that's helped a bit by these UUIDs here. It'd be a lot harder to kind of reverse engineer this, but somebody could figure that out. My point is, it's important to have some protection on the server side, which we do. First of all, we've got these tokens here, or decorators in Python that are saying, basically they're going to prompt you to log in if there's not a authenticated user. So those are super great. So you wouldn't even be able to get here normally. However, we've also got just this simple if here that's doing a lot of work. Notice this return exists outside of any ifs. No matter what, we're going to always return back to this form. But for an editing of a review, you're going to need a review ID, and that review is going to pull from get the review. But sorry, here we go. The request, the user of the request has to be the author of the review. If so, then yeah, it will accept this form, validate it, save it, all that. You know, or else it's going to it's going to either create a form or it's going to show an edit of a form. But the other thing is, if this if doesn't work at all, this outside one, this top level, it's just going to kind of direct you away from it. So one, you can't even see it in the UI, and two, if you were able to try to be nasty with it, get in there and try to edit something you shouldn't be able to edit, this endpoint is doing a great job of not even getting that far. Right off the bat says, are you the author? No, you're not the author. Well, get out of here. The delete does the exact same thing. If the request user is not the author of that review, it's just going to say, no, see you later, Buster. You're not coming in here. And that's really all it is. I wouldn't overcomplicate it beyond that. If you've got the user in your request, then always just check to verify that user can do the stuff they're supposed to do. Now the logical side of the UI is another thing we do have to talk about. So let's kind of look at how that's accomplished. So within templates of ratings, we've got our base here, we've got our detail, our home, but what we really want to look at is actually we'll look at both. So here's the main list. You can look at any of these beers, and I don't think any of them right now. Oh, I also put this login. So maybe let's log in real fast. Do I have logged in users here? Well, let's check actually. Let's do this together. Go into the admin panel. Oh, did not create a super user for this. That's okay. Let's create a super user. Great. I think I was finagling with this earlier. Cool. Do we have any other users? We don't. Let's create a user, or maybe we can just sign in. Let's see how I want to do this. All right, so we are logged in as Squid. I want to log in as a different. So there is the sign up does work on this, but I don't have any direction to it. So from the admin panel, I'm just going to create another user just to kind of show off what this is supposed to look like. This user's name is going to be something other. Shark sounds good. Cool, new user.
A quick question there. Did you delete the validators for the password in the settings? Like not delete them, but comment them out.
I
think
did.
they're.
You did?
I read them
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to remember how to do that and it just came to me now. Okay.
Yeah, just blow them away.
Yeah.
Or wrap them in environment variables. You can do different things. Come on, brain. All right, so we're logged in as Squid. I want to see list. All right, so this is a list of all of the beers. If we go to any of them, there are no reviews. We can add a review. Review performed as Squid. So that is a review performed by Squid. You can see it here in the list of reviews. Review performed by Squid. You can edit it. Looks good. It's edited. We could delete it. Oh, we're not going to do that right now. What I want to do is see if this will let me log in. All right, now we're Mr. Shark now. Which one was it, Stella? So we can see this review here, but notice the buttons are gone to edit or delete it. We can create our own. And we now see it, here, but notice these are not being populated. So you can only edit your own stuff. You can only delete your own stuff as intended. That is being conditionally rendered in detail.html. James and Nick, I added this kind of floating thing at the top, which I thought was kind of nice wouldn't be something I normally do like this. But when you're developing, it's nice to see the different users. When you're trying to really prove that your users can and can't do things, nice to have kind of a banner at the top with log in, log out, just to see who you are, so you're not having to bounce around the admin panel a little bit. But outside of that, everything else looked good. So we in the list bit are going to loop through all the different beers as one would expect. Setting from base. For beer and beers, show them all, doesn't matter. We give a URL to their detail. We don't need to care about what user it is. Every user should be able to see it as the release says. But when you get to the detail, we are going to display everything that we want to do about the beer. Another thing I changed, it's totally okay to inline put Jinja with other context. So you can, type in your H2 tag all you want, but anything within the curly braces is going to display nicely as you want. You don't necessarily need to put those in different HTML tags. But then the conditional rendering is going to happen here. If the request.user is the review's author, and if that sounds familiar, it's because we're doing the exact same thing over here. If the request.user is the review.author, then display it. Otherwise, don't show them anything. And that's it. So you wouldn't want to just give them this edit and delete button and then not let them do it, because that's messed up. And you don't want to allow them to do it and just not show it to them, which is something that you can see people get lazy with a lot with web development, especially kind of earlier coders. Is I'll handle it on the front end. If I don't give them the option on the front end, then they won't even be able to do it in the first place. But one, I mean, if you're assuming positive intention, the user would never do that. Maybe you're right, but the user is going to do things to your application that you never intended for the very first time when they're being completely, what's the word I want to use? They don't have to have like poor intentions to jack your app up. So cover yourself on the front, cover yourself on the back, and that should get it. Was there anything else in this release? I think those were kind of the big things I wanted to talk about, which was the conditional rendering, and then how to kind of smartly display information to a user and hide it from other users. Yes, truly.
I have another quick question before we move on.
Yes.
It's just in the list HTML you're looking at, or the detail, sorry, the detail. Yeah. It says right there in the loop for reviews in review. Where's that coming from? Like the reviews. I mean, it's a for loop, but in what review?
I don't think this needs to be here. Let me think about this. Wait, hold on. No, this is the detail.
That's coming from views, isn't it?
It's from
Yeah. So
should be
yeah,
a function,
I think it's named funky.
the name's reversed.
Yeah, it's named funky. Yeah, good catch there. I mean, it's fine. It's just make sure you're okay. Hold on, where is this? Yeah. What's going on here? That shouldn't work.
Oh, I get it. It's just the name is reversed. Okay, so the review is the actual list of reviews, and reviews is just because they're multiple for the same user. I got it.
Yep. Yeah, so
I just didn't know why it's singular, but okay. Thanks.
I'll
Hey,
fix this for
Jordan,
my
when
commit. Yes.
sorry, when selecting reviews from a user, I use that login required decorator, but I just filtered the reviews on the author when they're equal to request user. Is that also, is that a sound way of doing it also?
So you're saying in detail, you only showed them their own reviews?
I created a view that only they could see using that login required decorator
Uh-huh.
and filtered the reviews by author, where the author equals
So,
request user. Was that okay though?
I mean, you can do that, but I think how, as long as they're able to see all the reviews, right? So as long as they're able to see other people's reviews. So if in the
Oh yeah.
detail you only want to show them theirs, and then maybe in the list view you're showing them the others, then that's fine.
Okay.
Just as per the assignment, they need to see the reviews. I don't care where you show it to them, right? I think I even made a change. James and Nick had been displaying the reviews on the list page. For me personally, this is not like you must do it this way. I looked at it, I was like, I think I want to see those on the detail page. So when I click on it, I want to see, the reviews. You could get fancy and show the top 3 reviews or whatever on the list page, but that's all extra stretch goals and whatnot. So wherever you want to put it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Faker, and had I given myself a little bit more time, I would have done this. All Faker is a Python library. The fact that it's called Django Faker here doesn't really affect anything other than you've got to plug it into Django. But it works fairly simple. You can dig through the library, but generally you just invoke Faker, and then it's got these kind of built-in little tools here, and it knows, hey, I'll generate a fake phone number, as a string. I'll generate a first name as a string. Seems like a lot of work sometimes. Sometimes, it's fine to just create this fixture and do your own. Like for me, I just wanted to see these. But in a lot of cases, when you're building out, some more complex data, you want to see random information come in that it would basically, if at the point the seed data is more complicated than it would take the time to kind of do that, if I needed without a doubt to see 1,000 different beers of different names, and I wanted to make sure that the beers were all unique names and I didn't want any of them getting mixed up because I had some kind of logic running, a YAML file would not be a good idea, because I don't want to spend 2 hours building out all this YAML. I would use something like Faker, where I would say, hey, for range 1 to 1,000, generate unique name and then generate random text between here and there, and then bam, you'd have 1,000 of them loaded up real easy. That's what Faker's for. It's not just to have funny fake data. It's for complex seed models, and where you really want to, in a lot of cases, it can also be like, it borders along the lines of testing, where it's not just fake data, it's fake seed data, it's like test data. And that's where Faker can be, really useful. Not something that's ever going to be pushed out to production. You're never going to push out Faker data anywhere, but in your development side, it can be really helpful, because it can create unique stuff. It can create randomized words, randomized names, and phone numbers and emails that are actually phone numbers and emails. They're not going to be not real addresses. One super cool thing you can do is create fake, what do you call it? Credit card information. And I don't know if anyone's ever gotten interested in these kind of videos, but I don't want to talk am I saying the right word? Is it called gray hacking, where you reverse hack people with naughty intentions, or is it just, you don't know what I'm talking about? Is that a formulated sentence?
Isn't it white hat hacker?
That is another term for it. White hat hacker, gray hacking, or like,
Like for bad guys.
yeah. It's not something I should really be recording on the lecture, but I'll talk about it anyways. There's videos out there of, I think one of the guys' names is just like Engineer Man or something. And he gets an email in that is basically like, hey, give us your debit card information and we'll do this. So he runs it, or rather he gets into their code and figures out that, oh, sorry, no, he gives it debit card information, but it's fake, and he can verify that it actually got hit. And to look up debit card information, to like go look up the account information, it costs like some nominal amount of money, like a few cents or less than a cent. So he used a faker kind of a debit card generating device to create a bunch of unique debit card, a list of fake debit cards, and then ran it against their checker something like 10,000 times, costing them like 4 or 5 grand, something like that. So super fun, super silly little thing you can do in Python that you can mess with bad guys trying to steal your debit card information, or like asking your mom to, list her best friend, best pet, all that stuff, the social engineering kind of things. You can do fun stuff with fake data like that. Big tangent, not what Faker's for, but you can do things like that sometimes. Any questions about this assignment? I know I went real high level, but I really just kind of wanted to show some of the key solutions, such as, conditional rendering and how to kind of protect yourself on the back end from providing information you shouldn't be doing.
Can you show us one more time in settings how to get it on PostgreSQL? Because I was still doing mine on SQLite because I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, it's just a matter of invoking the proper terms, and you should be able to look this up with the docs. But hold on, where did it go? I deleted too much, now I don't know where anything is. Oh, Jordan, where's that? No, search here. There we go. Django.de.backends.postgresql, and then set up a database like this. I don't know if this changes if you're on an M1. Can anyone look at theirs real quick and verify this? I mean, I got this from people who are on M1s, but it works on mine, and I'm on Intel. I don't think it changes.
Yeah,
But that
mine
is-
was an M1 that you pulled it from.
Okay, so works on ARM64, works on the other one. But that ought to work. If you're having issues with it, hit me up, because there could be another thing going on.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, the database needs to be created, and you need to make sure that Postgres is actually running on your machine. That can be another problem. Anything else, y'all?
Jordan, how did you load the YAML to that data to your database?
I did this.
Oh, so you just run. Do we need to migrate it, or?
No, migration is only for changing your model. If you make a change to your models, then it's a migration. You make a migration and then migrate. For data, we're not doing a migration. I'm just adding to a database. So, it just like when you normally, from the UI, when I write a review, I wouldn't have to migrate that. I'm interacting with the database as it exists. Migrations are only creations of new tables or edits of current tables, is the way to think about it.
Also, just creating this seed here YAML, it will automatically populate the database.
It will not. You have to run this command that I have commented out right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
No, you're good. You're good. And I don't think this has been shown anywhere. And I didn't know how to do it off the top of my head. I had to Google how to see data in Django. And first I was trying to do dump data. And then mentally I was like, wait, dump means pull it out. Load means load it up. So yeah, it's load data. You'll see some other invocations that do it not exactly like this. Like it's going to want you to say something like models dot ratings or whatever, but wasn't working for me, and I don't know why I found it. Someone else was mentioning that, but I think it's from older Django. So this right here, and I'll push this up, by the way, so everyone can. If there's anything you really like from this, actually, I'm not going to push it up. It's already part of the pull request. So if you go to the assignment for yesterday and look at the pull request, this is going to be, I think it's under James, but Nicholas worked on it as well. And then there's going to be commits from me on top of that. Yeah, so looking at the beer ratings from the curriculum, if you look at pull requests, oh yeah, I just snapped from that one, created my own branch. So everything I've got is going to be right here. So you can go to James's repo, and he's got a branch called Jordan Dev. If you want to look at it, that's where it's at. Any other questions?
So when we change the database from SQLite to Postgres, I know how to do it, but you have to make sure you do that before, obviously doing your models and migrations, right? Otherwise, it will go to SQLite and you can't change it later. Does that make sense?
I wouldn't say you can't change it later. I believe if you run it as SQLite and then you decide you want to do it as Postgres, you should really only have to change the settings. So you should only have to update. I say should, but I'm pretty. If it doesn't work this way, I'm going to be annoyed. You should just have to update the engine, and then again run Python manage.py migrate.
Migrate. Okay.
Yeah, you should just have to run migrate because the migrations will already be created.
Okay.
If it doesn't work that way, come get me. But that's what I expect it to do.
Okay. If it's in the middle of assessment, I will.
If I've given you bad information and it's the middle of assessment, yeah, just DM me and be like, hey, you're screwing me over here. I will help. Any other questions?
Yeah, not corresponding to this, but I was having trouble doing a pull request. It said I didn't have like permissions or something. So I was gonna try to see if I can get you to the side today and see if we can figure out what's going on with my pull request.
Yep, I think I know what you did.
Okay.
You may not have forked.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. Anything else I'll handle offline. I'm gonna stop recording.